Yes. Straight Facts is back. Straight Facts is back with Big Steve. The Premier League kicking off in a couple of days' time. City versus Liverpool, Arsenal, Leeds. The title race starts now as we go into the last 10 to 11 games. We're talking that. We're going to be looking ahead at this weekend's fixtures as well. But no better place to start. We're going to start with Fergie and Wenger, the Hall of Fame. I want to get Steve's take on a little bit of that. But Steve, first of all, how are you, mate? Enjoy the international break?
You finally get to catch up on a few things you've missed out on. I needed my football fix weekend, so I went to Wembley for England-Ukraine. So good game of football. Saka, great goal. Enjoyed it, yeah, but it's not better than the Premier League and club football for me. So I'm raring to go now.
Same, mate. Like, you guys are obviously in the title race. I'm looking at my club with the FA Cup semi-final, securing top 4. We've got Newcastle at the weekend. Just pumped, ready to go now. No more distractions now. That's what I love. Like, all the international football out of the way, and we go. But it's not uncommon they do something like this in the international break. But Fergie, Wenger, both introduced to the Hall of Fame today. The right first two managers to go in?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Obviously, for me, Fergie, unbelievable. Obviously, the bane of my life growing up in Manchester. He was hard to take as a kid. You know what I mean? Everything he was doing, you didn't really like him on the blue side. But when you get a bit older and you look at what he achieved and how he kept it going and how he kept the team motivated, and yeah, he was fantastic for Man United and one of the greats, if probably the greatest of all time in the Prem. And then you look at Arsene, and he sort of revolutionised it a bit. He came in with this different philosophy that nobody really thought about. You know, he started introducing the fitness levels and the healthy eating and different habits. And I think when you look at the icon managers of the Premier League and you look at people that have changed the game, them two have changed it in their own ways, you know what I mean? And then Arsene created the Arsenal team, Thierry Henry, with joy to watch. So, yeah, you're not going to get any complaints, I don't think, from anyone about them two managers being in it. They're both great in their own right, and yeah, pair of legends.
Yeah, they most certainly are. Most certainly are brilliant. But in their own rights, Fergie clear, in my opinion. I'll take nothing away from Wenger. A few United fans are frustrated today that they've had it announced on the same day. They believe that Fergie should have gone in by himself, sort of standalone. And I do get that notion. But Man United fans have got to remember there's a reason that Wenger's gone in on the same day. It's to create debate. Always is. There's a reason that there'd be seasons, and you've experienced this in recent years as a City fan. Man United won a treble. And I think we only had 3 or 4 players in the team of the year. Ginola won player of the year. They do this regularly, and that they'll pick good players from rival teams to throw into the mix so fans can argue. And it's so that rivals all have something to... When you've got a team that's dominating, you have to give rivals something. You have to give them some crumbs. You have to give them something they can kind of debate over and argue and kind of have. And that's what they've done with that today, which I do get their reason for saying it's disrespectful. But I have seen a lot of Arsenal fans as well online today come out and say Fergie was a checkbook manager. Wenger, if he had his budgets, would be clear. If he could spend like Man United, Fergie wouldn't have. I mean, I've actually seen this video here. I want to play this, actually. This is from Simon Jordan, what he said today about Fergie. Take a listen to this.
The question, has the Premier League ever been more challenging than it is now? Because when Ferguson and Wenger were in their pomp, who was really, really, really pushing them economically and football-wise? And I mean, I suppose we can pull people out and say the Newcastle were the entertainers in '96. But when you look at the landscape now, and you've got Manchester City in the mix now, you've got Liverpool in the mix, you've got...
See, I want to stop him for a minute. Like, when he says this, I respect how good City and Liverpool are now. I really do. But he's alluding to what would Fergie have done if there was people with the power of cities. Well, he saw off the beginning phase of your power by winning titles. There was Chelsea spending, which everybody said was going to leave everybody behind. But Fergie went on to win more league titles in the Roman era up until he retired. He saw off Newcastle's heavy spending and brilliant team. He saw off Blackburn's heavy spending and their brilliant team. And I kind of get the comparison, but it's almost like saying Anthony Joshua would beat Muhammad Ali because the diets now are better, the nutrition is better, the men are bigger and quicker than they were. So Muhammad Ali would have no chance. But if Muhammad Ali was born in this era, he'd have that same talent, but he'd also have access to the same the same facilities. Man United have spent as much money as City since Fergie retired. If you gave Fergie that money and his team running the club, I'm not suggesting for a second that City would have won nothing, but Fergie would have been winning league titles in this last decade. That's the only bit about today that's distasteful for me, is some silly gooners online have tried to downplay Fergie's achievements as being some checkbook manager and he didn't really innovate anything. His football wasn't that great. And then you get clowns today like Simon Jordan stating that Fergie never overcame adversity or big spending and definitely couldn't do it in this era. That's the bit for me that's disappointing, because to discredit Fergie in any way, I just think it's just disrespectful. That's the only thing I've got to say about it. I think it's ridiculous and disrespectful for me, Steve.
Yeah, you can't disrespect him. Listen, I get what he's trying to say from the point of view of saying at them times it was Man United and Arsenal who were the only real challengers, because, you know, Newcastle, you said Newcastle, it was a flash in the pan. They didn't really do much, really. If United caught them 12 points ahead. Chelsea, yeah, just getting on. City, we won the league and then bought, you know, Scott Sinclair, Jack Rodwell and Javi Garcia, and they bought Van Persie. So, you know, we weren't expecting to win out with that side. But listen, Fergie did what he did, and that's it. You know, if he was around today, would he have had competition for signings and that? Probably, yeah. Would he have probably lost a few signings he wanted because people would have outspent him? Probably. But at the time, listen, Man United were what they was. Nobody moaned about money then. Nobody moaned about net spend. Nobody moaned about anything. They just accepted it. Man United was bigger than everybody. They went and done it, and that was it. But you've still got to, you're taking the achievements away from the manager, because you've still got to motivate a team. You've got to train a team. You've got to keep them tip-top all the time. You've got to rotate at the right time. You've got to sell and buy at the right time. That's not easy to do, because if it did, the team that spent the most money would always win the league, and it doesn't happen that way. So Fergie was a legend in his own right. And like you say, with the Wenger comparison, Wenger didn't, you know, not spend money. He spent money and did it his own way. So I think too many people get focused these days on arguing about who did what and who wouldn't have done what, and you wouldn't have done this without this, and he wouldn't have done that. And it's all sort of petty shit.
Yeah. People
just need to step back and say, you know what, we're here to admire two managers who've gone in the Hall of Fame in their era. So it doesn't matter who's doing it now or what the league's like now. In their era, they dominated their game. They fought each other head to head, had some brutal battles, and both of them deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And that's it. You've got to respect it. It's not worth the petty argument. Simon Jordan's he's on TalkSport. He's trying to get it going, and that I get it. But nah, listen, it is what it is. They're both great managers.
And I get, look, Matthew here says Simon Jordan has a point. The thing is, though, yes, there would have been more competition for players in the Premier League. But in Fergie's era, it was the Italian teams and the Spanish teams that were your competition for players.
Yes.
So Fergie still missed out on great players in the 90s and the 90s.
Real Madrid used to take players off United all the time.
Exactly. They took a number of our best players away from us. And this is the point. So the competition has just moved more domestically. And maybe Fergie wouldn't have won as many league titles, potentially. Maybe he would have won more. But Man United have not been able to not financially compete with Man City in the past decade. And Fergie was a great manager. I just think it's one of those things where you can do comparisons, but the way I see this happen a lot with Man United, our legends and our great achievements get played down for me far too regularly. And there might be young City fans and young Liverpool fans that think, yeah, that's a great idea to do that. But by that same logic, and this is to a few Liverpool fans that have left comments, then let's take away all your Champions Leagues from the 70s and 80s, which is renowned by most European experts as the worst period and weakest period of European Cup football. The 50s and 60s were regarded as very strong. What we've had from like the late mid to late 90s till now has been regarded as strong. But that 70s and 80s period was often regarded as quite poor. So do we take that into consideration and wipe that off your history and say, well, winning at 2 Champions Leagues now is worth 4 from the 80s? No, you can't do that. It's disrespectful and it opens up a can of worms. You judge eras based on what individuals won. That's how I personally do it. And the level of competition they were up against. The Man United and Fergie went up against brilliant teams, both domestically and in Europe, exactly the same way that City and Liverpool are going up against teams now, both domestically and in Europe. There's brilliant sides. And yeah, for me, I just look at it along those lines. It's a bit disrespectful, but I do get why is they're doing it. We have a poll running currently asking at their peak, who is the better manager? 61% say Fergie, 39% saying Arsene Wenger. And Football Gossiper here says, Terry, really? No, I'm being serious, bro. I'm genuinely being serious. If you want to challenge it, then tell me why you're challenging it. I'd love to hear what your challenge is rather than laughter, because laughter tells me I don't like what Terry's saying, but I have no way to rebuttal it. So come on here, my friend, and let us know what you think. Ghost here says, I genuinely believe Man City will finish this season with an FA Cup. I hope not. I hope they end up with nothing. I don't. Listen, do you know what's really underappreciated about this City team so far this year? You men are on for a treble, legitimately on for a treble.
Yeah,
and
we don't mention that, mate. We don't mention that. We don't want to get carried away. We're on with the next game. That's all we care about. Keep on rolling, man. Keep on rolling.
Yeah. Well, again, I know you lot don't want to talk about it, but it's there, and it's why I need this weekend to happen.
Yeah, but Liverpool was on for the quad last year. Remember that? Look how that turned up. So you don't want to get involved in that. So and look where they are now. So it's jinxed all that talk for me. You're not getting no City fan that's walking around talking about trebles. Let me tell you that.
There's a few on TikTok I see, Steve.
It's TikTok though, isn't it? Fuck me, Terry. You might as well go to the nursery school and ask them.
No, I think they're the most sincere City fans to listen to. Those Hamza and all them man over there doing their. We've got a United guy over there, bro. And every time United score a goal, he does a TikTok video saying we're winning the quad. It's like, what are you doing? We can't even win. We can't win the quad because they're not even in the Champions League. So we can't win the treble either. Like, there's only one treble. There's only one quad, in my opinion. And I'm like, please stop. Please stop doing it. But there's a super chat here, actually, that I'm going to go to first. It says, in an interview with Thierry Henry, he said that the United-Arsenal rivalry pushed both clubs to extraordinary levels. Never repeated. United's 99 treble and our 49-game unbeaten run. Competition is a good thing. Exactly. You need that rivalry. And there's no doubt that what Pep and Klopp were doing pushed each other, and that's why they got those great records and those points totals. And look, there's arguments for that. It's like, the fitness levels now on the squads are deeper than they were in the 90s. So it's easier to get higher points than it was back then. That's why I don't like to play down eras, because that means you're discrediting the brilliance of this City team and the greatness they're creating. I'm just going to look at it in the era it's in, and then you look at the achievements in terms of trophies, and it's sensational. But competition is needed. Otherwise, you go stale, really. You can go stale. There's no doubt. There's a great super chat. But there's lots happening this weekend, mate. And the first game I wanted to speak to you about was City versus Liverpool. There's news that Haaland might be out and missing. But before we get onto Haaland, how are you feeling about this game? Are you confident that you'll have enough to get past this Liverpool team?
Listen, going into the international break, we weren't beaten in 10 games. We were looking superb, you know what I mean? Ruben Dias was back. We were ticking along. Haaland was kicking into gear. Do you know what I mean? So we were looking great. The only worry is after an international break is, can you continue that? Hopefully it doesn't upset the rhythm. Speak about rhythm all the time. But there's no better game or bigger game for us to dive straight back into. The intensity of the game is going to be there. It's not like we're going to get caught cold and maybe go in thinking we're going to roll someone over and then get caught. I think we know where we've got to be. I know we've got to be on it. Phil Foden's definitely out. He's had his appendix out, so he's out. He's missing. Shame for Phil. He was just getting onto form. And Haaland, if he's injured, it's a massive miss, because look at him, the numbers he's stacking up just before the break, smashing people apart. He looks really, really deadly in front of goal. But listen, we'll cope. We're Man City. We've got a good squad. We'll cope. We'll have to play Alvarez if we need to play Alvarez. We'll play a false nine if we have to. Kevin De Bruyne the other night was, ticking along nice. So we're doing all right. We know what we got to do. Like you said, start of the show, the business starts now. There's no better manager or team that are prepared for the running than us. We know what we got to do. So we can't afford to lose. We can't afford to draw. It's just Operation Win now, all the way at the end of the season.
It absolutely is. And do you feel like Haaland, do you think he will play? I know you're saying that you've got Alvarez if not, but do you think it's been a bit like Rashford with United? There's another player, I think, who was linked to not play, like Thomas Partey. Arsenal were trying to do the same with him. He's being assessed. He might not be ready. Do you think Haaland will be ready to play that game?
I believe he had a bit of a tight groin against Burnley. He scored them goals. He took him off. He went out on international duty. He got there with a Norway team. I seen pictures of him, and then they assessed him and said, "Nah, it's not worth the risk." So with something like that, it depends how he's gone on in training. He's probably got 3 days of training where he can really test it. If he's still feeling it, they ain't going to risk. They'd rather lose him for 2 or 3 games than the full 10. So it's one of them injuries where with a groin, you don't want to push it. So we honestly don't know if it's mind games from him. I don't know. Time will tell. 11 o'clock Saturday morning when the teams are announced. So fingers crossed he's in.
Yeah, and how do you see? I mean, how do you see the game prediction wise? It's at the Etihad, right? You're going to be there, aren't you? You may be there at the Etihad yourself. You'll be there for the game, definitely.
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I fancy us. Like I say, I fancy us. We've got to get it done. There's no ifs, buts, maybes. We've got to get it done. Liverpool are a tough side. You don't know what Liverpool you're going to get. If you get the Bournemouth Liverpool, you fancy City to wipe the floor with them. If you get the 7-0 Man United Liverpool, it's going to be hard work. So, listen, it is what it is. It's Liverpool at home. It's always a tough game. The teams, we never do really well against Liverpool at Anfield, but at the Etihad, we have done okay. So, I'm confident that we can get the job done, yeah.
I want you to win because I want Liverpool's hopes of top 4 gone. I think you're going to draw the game, though. I think you're going to, that's just my feeling about this is I think you're going to draw the game. We'll move on to Arsenal a bit later, but I just feel this is going to, I don't know, the 12:30 game, Liverpool almost playing with an element of freedom because they're not expected to win. And I just think City are going to, I do think you're going to crumble in this title race slightly. And I don't mean that as in you're going to fall away and be, 15 points behind or something crazy like that. But I just think Liverpool are going to nick a draw here. Just my gut feeling says Liverpool draw. But part of me, even though I've predicted Arsenal to win the league and I want Arsenal to stop you from doing a three-peat, I really do. What I want you to do is smash Liverpool. But because I want you to beat them so bad, I feel like you're going to drop points. I think that's what it is more than anything. Because I want you to beat Liverpool. And I want you to beat them bad. I want you to put 6, 7, 8 goals past them. I really want you to humble them. But
I'll take 1-0, mate. I'll take 1-0.
I bet. Viewers, let us know who you think is going to win. We've got a poll running right now with 40% thinking it's going to be a City win, 39% thinking it's going to be a Liverpool win. In terms of Liverpool, what do you think has gone wrong with them this year? Do you feel like, is this just an anomaly year? Or like a lot of people are saying, do you think Klopp's kind of come to the end of the road with them?
No, I don't think so. I think what's happened with Liverpool last season, mentally, physically, took a lot out of them. They were fighting on all fronts. We did it a few years ago, same, fighting on all fronts. I don't think they strengthened the areas they needed to strengthen. I think they put a lot into Darwin. The midfield is weak. It seems to be declining. Certain games have been going in there with Carvalho, Elliott, Fabinho. Fabinho looks like he's aged about 10 years after last season, so I don't know how he's dropped off. Big Verge isn't the same player. Liverpool fans can argue the toss what you want, but he's not. He's not the same player. He seems to have dropped off a bit. I just think they're in need of a shake-up, but they're in no man's land at the minute with it. Did they go all out and get Jude and get the one player who's a fantastic player? Or do they have to miss out on Jude and go for 3 or 4 and strengthen the core of the team? I believe they need to strengthen the core of the team because where they are now in the league compared to what they were doing last season is a massive drop-off. And I don't think they're getting talked about enough. I think if Man City had dropped off that bad, we'd be getting ripped apart. They'd be calling for Pep's head. But listen, I like Jurgen Klopp. I've got a lot of respect for him. I've got a lot of respect for Liverpool. When you're challenging for a title with them, you can only breed respect. You know what I mean? When you're fighting with a team like that. And I just think there's a few problems behind the scenes that Jurgen's got to get right and the board have got to back him.
Yeah, listen, everyone knows I think Jurgen Klopp is a world-class manager. I really do. I think he's been brilliant in the Premier League. There is no doubt about it. Liverpool, though, there are problems at the club, and it's such an embarrassing season for them to go from challenging for that quad, being 20 minutes away from winning the Prem. They were. You could argue that they weren't unlucky against Real Madrid in the final. Courtois was just pulling off save, but a little bit of dodgy defending from Trent at the far post and Van Dijk for the cross coming through, and they go from nearly winning a quad. Look, winning 2 trophies is brilliant. Man United might win 2 this year. I'm going to be very happy. To a year later, struggling to make the top 4. It's the humbling of that and the embarrassment of it is a lot for them to take. And I think you're right. The fact that they invested in 2 attackers and they haven't improved that midfield is crazy. And now they're linked with lots of midfielders. Mason Mount might be on his way there. There's Jude Bellingham, as you mentioned. But I feel like if they sign Jude Bellingham, as you say, is it RFSG going to invest any more money elsewhere? If they just sign Jude Bellingham, it isn't enough for me to move the needle. They need a revamp in the defense as well, because they're going to continue playing the high line next year. And I don't see how bringing in Jude Bellingham fixes their high line. He's not a deep-lying centre-back. He's not a holding midfield player. He's an attacking midfield player, which means they'll expose themselves even more. So I do look at it and think maybe a new right-back's needed, definitely a new centre-back at some degree. I think like even the Dutch now are calling out the likes of Van Basten and Ruud Gullit are slamming Van Dijk, just saying he isn't the guy he was. So I think Liverpool need to look at those areas as well, because they can buy another striker and another top midfielder in Jude Bellingham. That's not going to stop that high line and those defenders from being absolutely exploited the way they do, because they've been worked out. And people will probably comment 7-0. Yeah, great, you beat us 7-0, but that doesn't make up for a terrible season, and that doesn't make you, in your heart of hearts, feel better about how bad your defense has been all year. So you can have that little win all you want, but at the end of the day, you've got to improve those areas. And yeah, that's why you should be beating them this weekend as well. Like at the Etihad, you should be beating them.
You just don't know which. You just don't. Before that 7-0, yeah. People are thinking City's going there and taking them apart. At the Etihad, but because they've got that in the locker, you've got to be wary about it, because we beat them early on in the season in the cup, and they had chances. Darwin Núñez had a 3 or 4 one-on-ones, dragging it wide. Because the way City play, believe it or not, plays into Liverpool's hands a lot of the time. Because it's end-to-end, always end-to-end City-Liverpool, because we leave ourselves wide open and they can get us on the counter-attack. If Trent likes to spray them balls right across the pitch, put us on the back foot, we've got to be dead careful. But we've just got to, we've let them off the hook a few times, though. When we should have buried them, we've let them off the hook. So I'm just looking forward to a really good game of football. But I think if City come out of this game with a win, then gives us massive confidence going forward. Then massive, because Arsenal's got to go to Anfield, and you'd rather play Liverpool at home than Anfield, because that place is mad. You know what I mean? It's a mad place. If the crowd get up for that, it can be a long night. But it is what it is. I'm just looking forward to the game, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like whatever the result, I'm looking forward to it. It's a great way to welcome back the Premier League after the international breaks are okay, but they always feel so long-winded. And I think with what we know to come, this epic title race that's about to kick off, you've got yourselves hunting down that three-peat, and I know you don't want to say it, but the treble, you've got that going on. Arsenal trying to win their first Premier League title in nearly 20 years with the young Mikel Arteta, people still doubting them. And that's the big question I've seen just start to be kind of brought up on the talk shows and the preview shows. Now that we're actually getting to it, and it's been discussed in the last month at large, but do you feel that you saw Arsenal fans over the international break fuming at Rodri's tackle on Odegaard, fuming that Saka played 90 minutes against the Ukraine? Do you still have that same belief that they're going to crumble and essentially bottle the position they're in? Do you still think they're not going to be able to cope with that big blue shark coming up from behind?
I just believe in my team, Terry. That's what people don't understand. If you've won 4 out of 5 titles, how can you not be confident when it comes to the business end of the season? Early in the season, we wasn't at the races. We dropped stupid points, our own fault. And I said, if we can keep on the coattails to get to that last 10 games with a chance, we've got the best chance ever. And we're there. So, you know what I mean? We win the game in hand, it's 5. If we beat them, it's 2. So, listen, we chased United down, 6 games to go, 8 behind, we won it. Liverpool came to the Etihad, 7 points clear. Yeah, we beat them and we won it. So, you got to be confident. I think, people expect me to start being asked about it. I'm not. I just concentrate on my team. The Arsenal boys are concentrating on their team. And I think what you're getting with a lot of people, because it's unknown with Arsenal being top of the league, I think a lot of people think automatically they're going to crumble. But I remember this with Leicester. Everybody kept saying they're going to go, Leicester's going to crumble, Leicester's going to crumble. And before we knew it, they were smashing it in the top bin at the Etihad and they were fucking on the march. So, listen, if Arsenal carry on doing what they've done for the first part of the season, they'll win the league. But what I'm saying is the first part of the season is not as intense as this part. This is where it gets going for both teams. And that's why I said when the very first show, this is where we find out which team's got the minerals. City's had the minerals for the last 4 out of 5 and we've got the job done. But only close. I'm talking fine margins. You know what I mean? You're talking very fine margins. So it is what it is. I'm looking forward to it. It's a title race and we're still in it, as well as the FA Cup and the Champions League. So my season as a City fan, I've still got a lot of twists and turns to go.
There certainly are. And I think there'll be, like this weekend as an example, I think Arsenal win, I think you draw. But that doesn't mean it's over. And that's what it's going to be interesting. And they've then got to go away to Liverpool themselves. So, you could see that go the other way. I mean, if then they lose and you win your next game, you've gained a point. So I don't think it's the end of the world if City don't win this weekend. Of course, you want to win every single match. You absolutely do. But I just look at this Arsenal team and I do think they've got it. I really do think they've got the bit between their teeth and their mentality. But it's going to come, a lot of it's going to come down to the fans. The fans have got to hold their nerve, because the one thing you guys will have is there'll be an energy, even when it's if it's going wrong at any moments in games, the general energy from your fans is going to be positive. We know we can do it. Why? Because you've done it before. From the Aguero moment to many others in the last decade or so, you've been able to achieve that. This is about the Arsenal fans remaining cool, calm, and collected and pushing positive energy into their squads, because especially the guys at the match. Because for me, fans, the roles fans play in their team's success is very, very understated. There was a reason that Man United under Ollie was able to come from behind so regularly away from home during the lockdown games, as it were, because you didn't have that pressure and that goading from the fans. The famous 7-2 that Liverpool lost, as funny as it is to banter them, when they went back to 2-1, if that was in real football with fans, those Villa fans would have started to shit themselves. Liverpool would have come back into the game. But you take that pressure away. So Gooners are the ones here who have to remain cool, calm, and collected. Stop showing your ass when a bad tackle happens to one of your players. Don't show your panic, because that will filter into that dressing room. It always does. It always filters.
I keep getting told off these Arsenal fans that, Steve, don't listen. Which Arsenal fans are you referencing in that? So I'm because I'm on an online platform, the Arsenal fans I'm referencing are the ones I see online. So AFTV, whoever I see, they're the ones I reference when I would talk about them. There's loads of Arsenal fans I know that aren't online that I speak to regularly who come over to my Instagram and we talk football and that. They're just enjoying it, and they should do. You got to enjoy it. From look at the season Arsenal's had. They're on the crest of a wave. It's a dream come true. He could have very easily been sacked last season. A lot of them wanted it. Big Robbie's already been called out on that and tried to say he didn't. And the clip came out of him saying it's time for the manager to go. But just admit it. At the time last year, a lot of them wanted Arteta out. They've stuck with him. He's pulled the club together. He's galvanised the team. He's galvanised the fans. He's galvanised the whole club as a whole. They're marching forward. Next minute, they're in a title race. They're 10 games off winning the Premier League. Think about it. 10 games off winning the Premier League. Arsenal. If someone had said that to you last season, you'd have fell about laughing your bollocks off. So what they've achieved this season is unbelievable. And like I say, now's the business time. Now's the time for us to stand up. They're the team to be chased. We've got to chase them. We've found ourselves in a position because we haven't been good enough that we're behind. So we've now got to make it up at the end of this season and get in front. And they've got to stick to the standards they've upheld all season and get the noses in front and see the job through. And, time will tell.
It certainly will. Time will tell. And I think, as this comment here says, the Arsenal blueprint has said that it's bloody amazing being in the race. And I do think that's something that Gooners have got to. Like, I live with a Gooner, so I know. And she's actually in LA at the moment, but I don't know. I don't know if she's going to enjoy these last 10 games because she wants
you
to
won't
win.
enjoy it. I'll tell you, as a Man City fan, an Arsenal fan, you ain't going to enjoy it because it'll knock you sick. There's going to be twists and turns. You're going to concede early goals to teams, and you think, shit, they're going to defend like fuck. And you're going to plough it to the end, and you might nick it or you might not. We was going for the title last season. We went to West Ham. We were 2-0 down at half-time at West Ham, Upton Park. We came back, Jack Grealish, 2-0, yeah? Going into the last game of the season, we're 2-0 down at half-time. We're 2-0 down to Aston Villa. We pulled it back in 17 minutes to win the league. Imagine your emotions for that, Terrace. Mm-hmm. So you've seen you go 2-0 down at Upton Park. You walk away from there with a draw. You think, have we bottled it? And then you find yourself 2-0 down against Villa at home. And you're thinking, not again. But because of the Aguero moment in your mind, you're thinking, this isn't doom and gloom. We've been here before. The first time it happened to us, it was a meltdown. The second time, it's like there's always that slim chance where something can happen. As soon as we scored the first, I knew it was on. And then bang, 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 we're 3-2 up and we've won the Premier League. And that's how quick in football can change. You can't ever take them moments away. Arsenal fans are going to go through them moments in these last 10 games, let me tell you.
Yeah, they are. And that's why they've got to hold it together, because there'll be when you've never experienced it or it's been a long time, the older Gooners have been through this. The younger ones haven't. And the younger ones are the ones that are noisy online. The online noise is what drives the media agendas, and the media agendas will feed into dressing rooms. They always have and they always will. That's never going to go away. It's about being mindful. George G here says, big up, Big Steve. Confident and looking forward to the last 10 games. At the same time, a bit worried as well. We all know that what City are capable of. May the better team win it.
That's it, mate. That's all it is. May the best team win. I know people want a big row and all that. Not got the energy for it. All my energy now is focused on my team in the next 10 games and the last competitions. I'm going to every single game from now to the end of the season. Bayern Munich away, all that. So I'm focused on my team. These Arsenal lads are focused on their team. And, forget the nonsense. Let the players do it on the pitch. And at the end of the season, it's either going to be Arsenal champions of the Premier League, which is unthinkable for them, but well done, or Manchester City catch them and steal the league title. And then again, it's well done to us. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Absolutely. Do you think that the Champions League and the FA Cup, I know you don't like talking about it, but the treble that you're in, do you think that's going to be a distraction? Do you think you might focus more on one, like the Champions League and the Premier League, or do you think you'll go hell for leather in all three?
We'll be in them all. We did it last season. We was in all the competitions last season, Champions League, FA Cup. But last season we didn't have the squad. We had Fernandinho playing centre back. John Stones was playing right back. We had to play Zach Steffen in net in the semi. We sacrificed the semi-final really against Liverpool, so we were good against Madrid. And it went a bit tits up, and we limped over the line. Emerick Laporte had to play strapped up last few games, patching him up. And like you say, we limped over the line. I think this season we're in better shape. I think we've got a really strong bench. I think Pep's been rotating it really well. We've got to keep the big fella fit up front. And I think we're used to getting to the last stages of every competition, Terrace. It's nothing new to us, playing all these games. It's not. So we just got to do what we do every season, but make sure we get the job done.
Totally get you there. I think, again, it's a hard one. I understand this idea that it can distract, but also sometimes it's a nice distraction. Having supported a club that for many years competed on all four fronts sometimes, it's kind of nice when you can you can win a Premier League game at the weekend, and then the following weekend it might be an FA Cup semi-final. You can just take your mind off the league for a little while. It kind of relieves the pressure a little bit, if that makes sense. And keeps the football flowing. You've also got the chance of rotating, which Arsenal have a lot less of, meaning that you can keep some of your bench, some of your not second string, but some of the guys that come on off the bench fresher, meaning that if there is an injury, they're ready to go. Now, Arsenal might go through the next 4 or 5 games, barely rotate, and then they get an injury, and you've got to bring someone in that's barely played any football for a month. So I think having those midweek games, the FA Cups, could be a benefit to City. I'm not going to yield on that. Chike says, Terry and Big Steve, I'm going to go with a tight 2-0 Man City win, and we keep the pressure on Arsenal What are your thoughts, Big Steve?
Taking it, mate. I'm taking it. I'll take that 2-0.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, City fans will take that every day of the week, and it could happen. I think it's City are the favourites. I fancy a draw, but I could easily see it being a 2-0. You're not going to write that off and say absolutely no chance. I think there's a great opportunity of that happening, Chike. I do. In terms of, by the way, a few of you have tweeted, super chatted in about the managerial debate. We'll come back to that when we're done with this conversation, just so we don't break the flow up of what we're speaking about. In terms of Arsenal, they go and play. They're playing Leeds. Do you see any problems from there? Do you think you see Leeds giving them a tough game, or is it fairly a bit of a formality for Arsenal in your view?
I think it's at the Emirates, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's. I think they'll do the job. But like you say, they're probably going to be a little bit nervy. Bournemouth game as well at home was the same. So these games, you just got to get the job done. You know, Leeds are going to go there. They're fighting a bit for their lives. So it's not going to be easy. But I can't see them dropping points there against Leeds.
Yeah, me neither. I think it's about. It'll be. I don't want to use the word easy, but because that often sounds disrespectful. But you know how they brushed Fulham aside. They did the same with. Was it Palace, the last team they played before the international break?
Yeah.
I feel it's going to be very similar. Leeds don't know how to defend. They're going to open up. And I think when you open up against a team of that level and they open up against Arsenal, they get cooked. They're not going to, even if they scored early, they're just not going to be able to sit back and defend long enough and well enough to stop Arsenal from scoring. They have too much. And I think Partey will be back. Jesus will be raring to go. Saka's in the form of his life. I can't see it. I can't see an upset in that. It'll be the following game against Liverpool that's really, really interesting, and I'm excited about. You've got a midweek game as well, don't you? Are you playing City on the Tuesday?
I can't think now.
Wait, no, you are City. I swear you've got a midweek game as well.
We've got they keep changing the fixtures, so I'm getting all these updates. I think they've just changed West Ham, Brighton's got some.
Oh no, you've got Southampton midweek. Yeah, that's an easy one. That's a simple one. Southampton away though, but yeah.
No, that's Saturday. That Southampton's Saturday the 8th.
Oh, you've not got a midweek game. I know. You know what it is? It's Chelsea versus Liverpool midweek. Sorry, I got the teams mixed up in my head.
Yeah, we got Liverpool, then we got Southampton away on the Saturday. Then we got Bayern Munich at home, and then we got Arsenal. Oh no, they got the FA Cup semi-final.
Then
Leicester away. Yeah, it's all jumbled up at the minute, but it's all coming thick and fast. We've got plenty of fixtures coming up.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. This super chat here says the team of 04 would beat this City team any day. Haaland will never be Henry. He is a goal machine only. Henry was a complete in all aspects.
Great.
He gets a lot of stick, Haaland, don't he? For being
jealousy, mate. Jealousy. It's jealousy. That's it. Anyone that's doing well, if they're not talking about you, you're not doing well, are you? So people want to start comparing people to people, then you know you're doing something right, innit? At the end of the day. Kid's first season in the Premier League, look at what he's done. He's got to respect it. Smashed out the park, you know what I mean? A lot of pressure on him. Going to be a flop. He's only a tapping merchant. But, you know what I mean? Keep him as a tapping merchant. I'm seeing the big Viking every week play for Man City. It's awesome to see. Unreal.
Do you think there'll be big excuses like that made if you win the league? Like you bought Haaland or you...
Yeah, you can't win. If he doesn't win the league, it'll be, oh, yeah, well, he didn't win the league and this, that and the other, which is fine. And then if we win the league, it'll be, you only won the league because you signed Haaland. So you just can't win. You know, we won the league last 2 years with no striker. So that puts that one to bed. Do you know what I mean? And apparently he made us worse. So if we win the league or the Champions League or the FA Cup with Erling Haaland, apparently that's some achievement because apparently we were worse. So, you know, I'll take it.
That's why I hope to not hear from Arsenal fans if you win the league that it's because you're a checkbook club, it's because you cheat, it's because you financially... Like, if you get proven to be cheaters, then it becomes an argument. But I don't like the... Yeah, but you...
I said this before, Terry. Mancini's wages, didn't make Steven Gerrard slip. Yeah? Mancini's wages didn't put Aguero through in the last 93rd minute to score. So whatever goes on in the boardroom and financials and documents and all that, Let them deal with that. The achievements that were done on the pitch were done on the pitch by the players, and the memories that the Man City fans will never be taken away. So it is what it is. So it's all nonsense. But I'm ready for that battle when it comes. You know what I mean? Well, I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, look, I agree. I kind of like when you lose. I want to see whoever loses this title. I want to see him take it on the chin. I want to see him accept it. I want to see it as you were the better team. You deserve to win the league, as opposed to excuses. And I saw in again, I've gone up against teams that, oh yeah, you beat us to the league, but our net spend is lower, so we're really the winners. Liverpool did that to you guys nearly every time Pep's beat them to a league title. Yeah, but you spent more and net spend.
Who's got the best net spend now, though, Terry? Who's got the best net spend now? Don't get talked about now that we're about 8th in the list. But that's the way it is. Listen, as a Man City fan, you take it on the chin. Like I say, it is what it is. You can throw whatever you want at us. You're a small club, yeah, we'll take that. We're a small club winning trophies, we'll take that. Rather be a small club winning trophies than a big club winning fuck all. You've cheated allegedly. So unless there's any qualified, Premier League solicitors in the chat, then I don't think anyone can say that. And it is what it is. What I've been through, watching this club over the last 10 years, will never ever be taken away from me. Never. No matter what happens. Never ever. And so I'm ready for that one.
I get that. This here says Haaland is amazing from an Arsenal fan. Haaland is amazing, but has he made City better?
Yeah, of course he has. Because we've had to change. So we've changed our system to suit the number 9. And maybe this season we struggled a little bit till the system, we knew what to do. And when it finally kicked into gear, look at us now. Did you see Van Persie talking with Rio Ferdinand? And he said he got Shinji Kagawa, Paul Scholes, Wayne Rooney in a room. And he said, we've got this striker up front and you're not passing him the ball. If you don't pass him the ball, you're not going to play. And he said he had a full training session and a full week about getting the ball as quick as you can to Van Persie. And I think the first game, Rooney crossed it in and Van Persie at that volley. And he scored that goal. And he said they wasn't passing him the ball right. And they wasn't feeding him to his strengths. And then when they did, they kicked on and won the league. Now, similar has happened to Haaland. In the first couple of games, he was getting the ball a lot. But then defenders wised up to it. And then now we had that lull in the middle where he was going 22, 23 minutes, no touches. He wasn't getting involved. You look at the last 6, 7 games of Erling Haaland now. He's had to adapt his game. We've adapted our game. And we're on it now. We're on it.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a lack of people playing those early balls into him. But there's been a click into gear recently. The goals against, the Burnley game, the Leipzig game was ridiculous. And if they do that, he'll win you the league. What's crazy is there's 2 trains of thought here. There's people that have played down Arsenal this year and saying, well, they're only doing what they're doing because City have gone backwards. But you're pretty much on your average points after 28 games.
No, Arsenal are doing what they're doing because Arsenal are better than everyone else.
Exactly. Arsenal have been better than City so far this year, so they're ahead of you. But City are still really good. And there's been a few teething problems with changing your system slightly for a player like Haaland. But you've done that and maintained your average points total at this stage of a season. It's a scary thought to how good you can be when it completely clicks, like week in, week out. And if you end up going on this year to win a Premier League, Champions League double, maybe even a treble, I've said it before, Centurions is a great achievement, but you still only win the Premier League. Winning 2 giant trophies in one season, you're looking at you're equaling what Man United did in 2008, and if you do the treble, you equal what we did in 1999. The greatest achievements that any side have ever had in Premier League football history, to win it in both. And if you do that with Haaland as your main striker, fair enough, the football may not look as good to people, but who cares about how things look if you're winning?
The football's fantastic, Terry. When you see a proper number 9 like that, getting in his stride, smashing it, off the crossbar, he's first to react, bang, headers it in. It's hat-tricks in 20 minutes, scoring 5 goals, getting took off. The guy's, he's unreal to watch. The whole state, he's a superstar. The whole stadium, the whole of Manchester loves him. The guy's a superstar. He's our Galactico. He's one of the best strikers. He's the best number 9 in the world. He's 22. Can only get better. And at the end of the day, he's at Manchester City Football Club. You know, I've seen Sean Goater. Thought Sean Goater was good, but fucking hell, Erling Haaland's different planet. You know what I mean? So I've seen some shit, but now I'm seeing the elite, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. I like how Haaland plays. I think he's sensational. This here says supporting Arsenal since 2002. After 15 long years, we were again hoping to win a title. But it's 19 years, bro. But to be honest, City is a massive team with a huge bench of strength too, which we are lacking. We will give our best, and fingers crossed is what my guy has got to say here. Thank you very much for the super chat, and I totally get that. You know, crossing those fingers. Any Arsenal fan pulling those excuses needs to grow up. The football is played over 90 minutes on the pitch, not in the back rooms with checkbooks and rules break, unless you're Barca, of course, is what Peter said. This here says, honestly, as an Arsenal fan, I rate the Champions League much higher than the Premier League. Dominating domestically is nice, but being champions of Europe is what separates clubs like Real Madrid. I do and I don't agree. I don't know about you. Like, for me, if City had a Champions League to their recent run of trophies, they go into the conversations of one of the greatest teams of all time. Definitely one of the greatest Premier League teams of all time. But I still rate the Premier League very, very highly. Like, it's, if you don't win a Champions League one season, but you win a Premier, you don't feel disappointed per se.
Listen, a lot of people, they always say the best team always wins a league. Yeah, always. But the best team don't always win the Champions League. You know, you look at some of the teams that are getting through. The competition's a knockout competition. You only need that one moment of madness. You need that bad night, and then bang, it's game over for you. So it's not easy to win. It's so hard. But like you say, it's Man City's always got that monkey on the back with the Champions League, where it's a stick to beat us with, innit? You know, we need one. But I love the Premier Leagues when you're invested in it, and you're home and away and that, and you're deep in it. It makes it all worth it at the end when you get that trophy. It's just a different feeling. But I've never won the Champions League, so I can't comment on it. So when we win the Champions League, then I'll be able to turn around and say, yeah, that's better, or that felt as good, whatever. But it's coming, man. It's coming. It's loading. It's loading.
Yeah, I mean, it's I look at it. Yeah, you're right. The best team in Europe doesn't always win the Champions League. They invariably do, but I think in the last 10 years, you'd probably put Chelsea arguably as twice have won it when they've not been the or one of the best teams. But for me, it's about trying to win it all, and that's what people have got to aim for. Steve, don't get carried away with. We all know Rashford best in the world right now, or was 2 weeks ago.
I think he's having a go at you there, Terrace.
Yeah, I mean, I said on form, and he was on form. He was the best in the world in that point. I didn't say he was better overall. We're just talking about the form of somebody, which is a fair thing to discuss, and I stand by it. Nobody was doing what he was doing in that period, but I still said that Haaland's a better striker. I maintain that. I feel zero embarrassment. If Man United beat City to a league title next year, we'd be better than you next season, right? But it wouldn't mean that we've been better than you in the last 6 years.
No.
And that's how I look at former players. So, yeah, for me, all good. But thank you, Mark. I appreciate the super chat. The Champions League had more prestige, but the Premier League is definitely harder to win. 38 games home and away. You can't fluke the league, but you can fluke a Champions League. See, I don't think you can fluke a Champions League, though, because you still have to win, what is it, 6? You have to be the best in 6 group games, and then how many? It's 8 more matches. You can't fluke how many games is it in total? 14 games. You can't fluke 14 wins. You
used to always listen. I used to listen. I told you the other show when you had Roy Keane and Neville and Scholes and people like that, and they were asking them that question, and they all chose the Premier League. Now, they weren't disrespecting the Champions League. They were just saying the Premier League is a long slog. So they were saying when you win that, it's more satisfying than Champions League. Now, as a player, you'd think that's mad, wouldn't you? You'd think more players would want the European Cup, but I don't know. The Premier League's a special league, man. It's special, but I don't know. I don't know. I can't comment, can I? I'm a Man City fan, but apparently I'm not allowed to comment on the Champions League. I
just look at it like this. I totally get that point, but you can't fluke winning the Champions League. That's my point. Like, you can't. You might get lucky in the final. You might get lucky in a quarterfinal second leg with a VAR decision. You might get lucky with a dodgy penalty that gets you through a stage. But you can't get through every game, every round and win it by being fluky, like the TBG. That would be my view. But I definitely think it's harder to win a 38 game competition, especially the Premier League, with the level of competition that we've had in our league for 30 years. We're never a one horse race for long. You might have one season where a team is outright the best, but how many? You've never seen it. You very rarely get 2 seasons running where a team's winning it by 20, 30 points. United in the early 2000s won it. Cancer. You've had a few seasons recently. Liverpool did, but most teams you've got 2 or 3 people chasing you. Blue Moon here says, I will be happy if we win the Premier League or Champions League. As long as we win a major trophy this year, we're good. Not like Terry's lot doing cartwheels for the Carabao. Bruv, like, I've seen City have celebrations for the Carabao. We're good, bruv. Leave us alone. Like, you celebrate it. And of course, I'll be gutted if we don't, because we're not winning the Prem this year. But in the trajectory we're going, and we're challenging next year. And I said this the other day. I said it in a group chat. I believe over the next 4 seasons, we're winning a Prem and a Champions League. We're in the right direction. New owners come in. Good investment again coming in the summer. And we've got a brilliant manager. So listen, my bro. We're coming for a Prem. We're coming for a Champions League soon. Watch this space. Watch this space, bro. Debbie here says to us, what do you think about Barca's situation?
I don't know. I was in Barca when the news broke on holiday, and they don't seem overly worried by it. It's not good, is it? Like, can you imagine that had happened to us? Can you imagine we'd paid the referees that kind of money? Can you imagine? But, apparently our grass was 38 millimeters too fucking high or something, so we're getting slapped on the wrist. But you can deposit 1.7 million in the ref's bank, and everyone's like, no one bats an eyelid. But
no one cares. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is what it is. Listen, you know what it's like over there. Anyone that knows football knows what it's like over there. The teams have ran themselves into the ground before. The banks have bailed them out. It's definitely murky over there, but it's Spain, innit? They'll get away with it.
Yeah, listen, you've got the financial levers as well that this reportedly can't spend. There's problems there. It's as dodgy as a £9 note, but Barca and Real Madrid, they essentially do whatever. That's why, like, I regard the Prem as the best, because it doesn't matter what those clubs do. It's always going to be them 2, number 1 and number 2. Nothing is going to stop that from happening. They'll have the occasional season where they dip. In Germany, there's one team that's always going to be number 1, as an example. Right now in France, there's only going to be one team that's number 1. In the Prem, it's always chopping and changing, and you're going to see a lot more of that in the coming years over here. So if you do watch other leagues more, come watch the Prem. It's the best. John here says, Pep arguably has done more than Wenger in the Prem. Sir Alex Ferguson and Pep get the checkbook mark. Every top manager spends money. They are all great in their own way. Yeah, Fergie and Pep get to spend the money they got to spend retrospectively because what they achieved. It's simple and as straightforward as that. Pep's in the best jobs because he's the best manager in the world right now. And when you're in the best jobs, you get the most amount of money. If Pep started slipping, he'd be where Jose is. He'd literally be managing a team like, if he'd have been slipping over the last 5, 6, 7 years and not maintained these levels, he wouldn't have the checkbook. You have to maintain your winning to keep the checkbook. So, yeah, you can't disregard that. Well said, John. Clinton says, I'm a Gooner and Fergie is clear, but let's be honest, Terry, Fergie wouldn't survive a VAR as United benefited from many dodgy ref decisions. Deep it. You can argue that, but at the same time, Didier Drogba's offside goal gave Chelsea a title that would have meant we'd won 4 on the bounce. You have the very famous game where Jose run down the touchline and slid on his knees with Porto. We scored a legitimate onside goal before their goal came in that was wrongfully disallowed. So Man United might have another Champions League and another Premier League if VAR existed. Now, I'm also seeing people say, Fergie always got the players that he wanted. He wouldn't now because of the Pep era. We wanted Shearer and didn't get him. We wanted Batistuta, we didn't get him. We wanted Iron Robin, we didn't get him. Mikel, we didn't get him. There's been Ronaldinho, we didn't get him. Sergio Aguero, we didn't get him. David Silva, we didn't get him. There's been many a player United have tried to sign who we didn't get. All the mental gymnastics to play down Sir Alex Ferguson, there's always a rebuttal. Some have said, well, Pep smashed him twice. He did. Pep was brilliant. And at the end of Fergie's career, Pep beat him a few times.
Will Jurgen Klopp get in the Premier League Hall of Fame with 1 Prem?
Not before, he won't deserve to before Pep, before Jose. I think Claudio Ranieri's achievement may put him in a position to go into it before him. But there'll be some other managers that get put in there. You'll probably find a manager like a Sam Allardyce goes in for longevity and sort of achievements on a lesser scale. But I don't know with Klopp. Like Klopp for me doesn't sit next to Pep, Fergie, Jose. He's got the Champions League as a Premier League manager, which is massive, but just one Prem, didn't defend it. Like those three, they defended a Premier League title. That there's something about that. I don't think people realize how hard it is to retain a title 2 years running. It's so hard. It's so hard.
You've got to motivate everyone again. That's what Pep always says. The motivation to get a team to go out again and do it again is hard. He said people don't run as fast. People don't run as far. They think they're a champion. They just relax a little bit to get them going. Yeah. I'm just intrigued with it. That's all. I don't know how they judge it or whatever they do. Whether everyone who's won a Prem is going to go in there because they've won a Prem, or do you have to win 2 Prems? You have to, I don't know.
Yeah, I think, look, I'm someone that looks at it as what you achieve as a Premier League manager. So the Champions League's massive. So I think he may go in, but he doesn't deserve to be in there above Pep or Jose, Wenger or Fergie, in my opinion. But if you start looking at who the greatest managers been in Premier League history, Fergie, Pep, Jose are my top 3. It's Wenger and Klopp that are then fighting out for number 4, in my opinion. But then you've got you've got Mancini and Pellegrini. Like they didn't win a Champions League, but they're just, I think they're just below that. You've got Dalglish, who won it with Blackburn, but that was it. So yeah, you probably got, for me, he's like number 4 or 5, Jurgen Klopp, in my opinion. I think that's respectful. I think it's respectful. Yeah, but you say won it with Blackburn. See, you're a kid, Spacebar. Blackburn, when he won it, were the biggest spenders in the Premier League. So don't think of Blackburn now and go, oh my God. Someone didn't realize earlier that once upon a time, Oldham were a good team. Oldham were pretty.
I went to the Little Woods Cup final, Oldham, Nottingham Forest back in the day. Oldham were a great side in FA Cup semi-finals with United. They had Joe Royle. So Dennis Irwin, Earl Barrett, Roger Palmer, fucking Graham Sharp. Oldham Athletic was a serious team back in the day. Artificial pitch at Boundary Park, fake pitch, used to kill everyone on there.
Well, if you're older than me, then you would know that Blackburn were a serious outfit. The same as when Newcastle were challenging. You know, Kevin Keegan was regarded as a good manager. They had brilliant players. They 3 years running, they spent the most amount of money in England. By the way, in Fergie's era, 3 times in 25 years was he the biggest spender in England. So people say that he always got his players. Okay, and he could spend more money than anybody else. They're lies. We weren't ever the biggest spenders. When Fergie retired, there was 5 Premier League clubs, including Spurs, that have spent more money than us. And we missed out on hundreds of players we wanted to sign. Hundreds of players over the years. Gascoigne was a player we wanted and didn't get. So there's so many things that come out. And then we play down how good the Blackburns and the Newcastles and the Leeds Uniteds were. The Aston Villas in the early 90s, as an example. The Leeds in the early 90s. The Evertons in the early 90s. The great Arsenal teams in the late 80s, early 90s. People's history is awful when they act like there was no competition. All the competition is now. Between 2004 and 2012, the English teams dominated Europe. Every year, every member of the traditional top 4 was in the top 5 or 6 favourites every season to win the Champions League. And Fergie won the most Prems in that era against those same teams. Do not disrespect and rewrite history to plagiarize. And the reason I'm saying that now is because all the City fans and Liverpool fans trying to do it, some Arsenal fans right now, you're going to hate it in 10 years' time when people try and rewrite your history now. It's a very competitive era now as well. It really is. It shouldn't be played down as easy because City have got more money than anybody else. Well done to them for them. You know, listen, again, I've said it in my videos. If it turns out they've cheated, I'll change my rhetoric. Until it's proven they've cheated, they haven't cheated. We've got to do the innocent till proven guilty, right? Otherwise, there's a lot of people that shouldn't be playing football right now if we're going to go down that bloody neck of the woods. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, leave it out. Roy Keane, Andy Cole, Veron, Ferdinand Rooney, all transfer records. Behave, Terry. I didn't say we didn't spend money, but again, you're not listening to the point I've made. In 25 years at Man United, only 3 times did Man United spend the most money. And the claim is, so out of 22 other summers, other clubs spent more than us. And we missed out on our star players. So this lie that Fergie spent the most every year and always got his key targets is factually incorrect. I didn't say that he never spent money, that he never invested, that he never got the players he wanted. Again, there's a happy medium here. Stop lying. If you have to lie to win an argument, you don't win the argument. Doesn't matter if 1 million people agree with you. If you're lying, your argument is false. Come on now, my friend. You can't lie to win an argument. No matter how many people cheer in the background and say it's great, it's crazy, bro. Sorry to say that, Blue Viper, but you can't lie to win an argument. It's a crazy one for me. United spent the most money every season not having it. You're using net spend. No, I'm not. We didn't because we just didn't. I know for a fact that when City got taken over, they spent more money than Man United. When Chelsea got taken over, we didn't. It's crazy. I can't believe the lies. I can't believe it. But yeah, it's crazy to me. But there we go. It is what it is, I suppose. It is what it is. This here says you are both doing it now with Klopp's achievements, giving Arsenal kudos for what they did, but called Klopp a flop from going fourth for doing. Sorry, but you're doing it now, calling Klopp a flop for going from fourth, 27 points behind. Well, none of us called him a flop. Did you call him a flop, Steve?
No, people make shit up on here, mate. You know that. I've seen it in the comments. People literally make shit up. Like, I see the comments, they go, Big Steve said this last week. It's like, show me where I said that. They disappear. But people believe it, man. Mad.
Yeah, none of us said that Jurgen Klopp was a flop. None of us played down.
I said he was. If you listen to my Liverpool section, you need someone to timestamp sections like.
No, I've timestamped it, bro. It's all timestamped.
Yeah, and then the Liverpool section, I just said Jurgen Klopp, fantastic what he's done, but you know, it's what it is. We're not talking about Liverpool. They're out of it. They've got their own battle with us on Saturday.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is from KJ, by the way. I didn't write this. He said, if I broke the transfer record at 80 million and Terry spends 100 million on 4 players, who spent more? That's it. That's it. It is what it is. It can't be debated. It's just facts. The facts are there. But it's the problem with people, like what you just said there about the Klopp thing. You didn't call him a flop, but people want to twist your words into you said he was a flop so they can be annoyed at what you said instead of just going, you know what, Steve's right about what he said about Liverpool. You know, they try and twist it so they can have something to come at you at. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you haven't actually slagged Arsenal off in any segment in the last few weeks, but because you think you're going to win the league and you think they might just crumble a little bit, it's like you're taking away all that credit. No, he said you're brilliant. He said you're really good.
Well, like they all say to me, them Arsenal fans you're listening to, Steve, they're not the real Arsenal fans. Well, the real Arsenal fans know what I'm saying in it, and I'm looking forward to the title race, like I did with Liverpool. You know, I was on the Big Six and other channels bantering Liverpool for seasons after seasons, but it never got mad. It always was respectful. You know what I mean? I got Anfield to walk through all them, and they'll chat to me about football. You get a mutual respect. Like I say, you growing up and you're going up against Arsenal and things like that, you have to have respect for them because they push you to the limits and it's the team you're up against, it's your rival. But in football, it's not war. You know, it's not life and death. You're not going to kill anyone. It's football. So I respect Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool for taking Man City to the next level because I truly believe that without them lighting a match under our ass, we wouldn't have done half of what we did. And I think if you speak to an honest Liverpool fan who he would say the same, without Man City being such on us like ferociously, it took Liverpool to the next level. And I think there's an element of that this season. I think Arsenal are keeping City on the toes. I think City are thinking, shit, we've let this go a little bit too far here. We need to claw it back. And I think Arsenal are looking back and thinking, this Man City team, we know what they're about. If we let it slip, it'll be on our ass. So it works both ways.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more, mate. This is from KJ. He says people are trying to debunk Terry's point by saying Fergie broke the transfer records like that equates to spending the most. Yeah, I mean, again, if somebody said Fergie only won all these Premier Leagues because he broke the British transfer records, I'd say, well, that's a fair argument. But the challenge was we spent more than anybody else every year for 20 years, and he landed every signing he ever wanted. And the argument that you put in was that he wouldn't be able to do that in this era, but he wasn't able to do that in his era, and he still won. That's debunk that point you made rather than lying. And then maybe we have an argument. Rom's here says, I hate Man United with every bone in my body, but it's because I respect them so much.
There you go.
There is that. And I used to say that to a lot of Gooners. I hated them, but I respected them. Liverpool. A lot of United fans disagree with me on this, but I'd never want Liverpool to go out of business. Man United aren't Man United without Liverpool. I don't think we're United without City. I don't think you get United now in the modern day age without Arsenal. There's an element of our history which is intertwined with yours, and you need each other. And it's why the Premier League, and I was debating someone who said that the league is better. Those guys don't have the rivalries and histories, in my opinion, that we have. We know that because our football and our rivalries transcend the world. They transcend the world. El Clasico is big everywhere else. Maybe the Madrid derby a little bit, but no one's worried about anything else. Over here, we've spread out. Arsenal, Chelsea, Arsenal versus Tottenham, Arsenal, Man United, the City derby, the Merseyside derby, Man United, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal. These games are global events. You don't get that in anywhere else in the world. So as much as fans like to attack each other, sometimes just like be mindful that all our clubs are where we are because of each other to a degree as well. So for me, there's always an element of respect that goes in. But there we go. Terry, like Joker, you complete me. Yeah, a little bit. It's like everybody fills gaps. Fill gaps. You need each other. If Liverpool and City disappeared off the face of the earth tomorrow, the Premier League wouldn't be the same. The same as if Man United disappeared. They wouldn't be the same. A lot of people say, oh, kick City out. I think you'll miss them when they're gone. You may not believe it. You may not want to admit it online, but you'll be like, oh, it's not quite the same. We've lost a rival. Don here says all of the top teams have spent money to win. It's called ambition, something that Tottenham knows nothing about. As an Arsenal fan, it's amazing times. Do you get that a lot, Steve, as well? Like people try and make you feel bad that your club has the ambition to spend money versus theirs that doesn't.
The thing is with us, when we got took over, we were like 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th team in the Prem. So we had to make a large investment to get up where we needed to go. We did that the first couple of seasons, then they brought in a financial fair play, so it got sort of toned down. City now as a club, you look at the business we do, it's tidy, the academy's making money, we're winning trophies, we're earning our own money, the marketing strategy the guys have done is unreal, the hotel, the building, the concert stadium, the thing. So the business model of Man City is fantastic. But apparently we're not allowed to spend our own money. People say Man United, they've earned it. Right, well, we've earned it as well because we've speculated to accumulate and now we're self-sufficient. But it comes to that, doesn't it? Everybody wants it, no matter what. Even United fans, they used to throw that at us in the early days. Yeah, but all you do, your oil money. They're all twerking for the Qataris now. Yeah. Oil money, Arsenal had a banner saying done without oil money. But they've got Emirates on the fucking shirts and Emirates in the stand. So people need to really think, it is what it is. Man City ain't going away. United ain't going away. Everyone's spending top dollar. It's only going to get worse. But these certain clubs like Tottenham that we mentioned that I think are in trouble. And like you say, they're in a bad state. And I think everyone looks at Man City and looking at Newcastle soon. And they all want that. You all want to be able to spend on big players and transfers. You want that, don't you? You don't want to be budgeting it low level. But the champions of England, if you can't spend your own money that you've earned through winning competitions and getting to the later deals in the Champions League, then it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I listen. I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. It's like the net spend argument. It never made sense to me in terms of people that come second or third. Be like, yeah, but a net spend is great. And I'd sit there and be like, okay, it can be an excuse, but why are you proud of that? You've only got good net spend, typically, like what you guys have done the last couple of years, you've been able to sell some really good assets for big money. But typically, your net spend is good if you lose your best players and if your club don't spend big money. Typically, that's when your net spend is really good. Why is that
net spend has only ever been good for teams that selling clubs. So if you've got an asset like Liverpool with Coutinho and someone comes in and pays 135, 140 million, then your net spend's going to be great because you're a selling club. Tell me when a big team came into Manchester City and took one of our stars. They didn't, because they all were there for 8, 9, 10 years and they went on free transfers. Aguero, David Silva, Yaya Toure, Vincent Kompany. Nobody took him. Kevin De Bruyne apparently was going to get took. You know, Aguero was going to get bought by Real Madrid after 2 seasons. Didn't happen because we ain't a selling club. Academy-wise, we're a selling club to make money. But nobody's stealing our assets. And if they want Erling Haaland now and they come in for him, how much are they going to pay for him? 300 mil? 350 mil? It's not happening. So it is what it is. You know, if you're a selling club and you sell your star player, then Coutinho money, you know, whatever. It is what it is. But City aren't like that.
Yeah, listen, I've never been someone that's found it something to celebrate. And especially as net spend isn't even real from the perspective of
and in the chat, somebody they're saying Jesus and Zinchenko. Well, Jesus and Zinchenko wasn't even playing in our first team. They were on the bench most of the time. So if you think Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko were first team regulars at Man City, then I think you're wrong.
I totally agree. And a few people asking, so I've just done the expenditure from the summer of 1992 until Fergie retired. Chelsea spent 1.1 billion. City spent 884 million. Liverpool spent 833 million. Man United spent 771. So in that time, United won 13 league titles versus Liverpool's none. City had 1. Chelsea had 3. But Chelsea had spent nearly 400 million more than us. City by then about 110 million more. You've got to remember, City spent most of that between 2009 and 2013. So like a good 500-600 million of that was in like a few year period. So United were only the 4th biggest spenders in Fergie's time. But to put it into context, Spurs had only spent 20 million pounds less than Man United in that time period. Newcastle would spend about 100 million less, but also been relegated by that point. Arsenal would spend around 600 million in that point. So it wasn't like United was spending in Fergie's career exponentially more than anybody else. So Fergie's spending's crazy, but equally, so what if we did? He earned that right by winning so much, more prize money, bigger sponsorships. He built so much success that we had more money than you, so we could spend it. This here says, I hope we don't change the rhetoric to Arsenal were overachieving anyway when City hunt them down and pipe them to the title, Terry. It's bottling it. Again, I think I will certainly not be saying that Arsenal were overachieving anyway. I will not turn around and say that they shouldn't feel disappointed for not winning it. What I won't do, though, is say, right, they got caught, sack the manager, crap season, it weren't worth it. There's a difference. But I definitely won't be saying that they overachieved anyway, because, again, I think that's a weak excuse, and Arsenal fans don't want to be patted on the head like a good little dog. La Liga is not the same without Barcelona. Agreed. I think that'd be considered very, very true indeed. Very, very true indeed. I don't think anybody would disagree with you at all. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that has tuned in today, everyone that has helped us out, everyone that has super chatted. It means a great deal to us. Great chat as ever, Steve. I always enjoy it, mate, especially the super chat section. Sure, we'll have you on next week after this. This weekend's going to be interesting, so we'll be reviewing things next week. Make sure you go follow Steve's channel, Big Steve, on YouTube. Go check it out now. Until next time, take care, everybody. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Thank you.